Welcome back to Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters, a podcast we chart the cinematic legacy of the classic monsters. I'm John Campbell. With me, as always, and as he was in part one of this, Brendan Jones.
Previously on Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters.
Yeah,
I'm so excited. This is our first two-parter.
Our first unwarranted two-parter, because we've done two-parters about two-part TV movies. But yes, this is the first time. This is the first time that there was an emergency two-parter called.
It was just, we were going on, and for good reason, though. I don't think it was, and I think I made the proper call. That was my call.
You did?
Because I did not want to rush.
Yeah, I was like, can we fit the whole second half of this movie into a half-hour discussion? No.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we did it that way. And I'm glad that our special guest star was kind enough to say, yeah, let's do that, and I'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that was my plan, was to kind of throw him off, and he'd be like, "Oh, I can't make it for the second part," and I'd be like, "Yes,
too bad.
It's a joke.
Joke's on you. I had boxes of earth from my native land just behind me. In a weird flesh cocoon, I have emerged yet again."
You mean a wet bag? That's what we call it from here on out.
We call the vampires. They sleep in their wet bags. For those who remember.
But yes, welcome back, Mr. Mike Gorgone.
Yes. As we jump back into last we left the characters of Dracula. Dracula was seducing Mina with memories of her past life as his beloved. And as we jump back into this, the first thing we're coming back into it is we find Jonathan Harker finally escaping from Castle Dracula. And I think we're getting to the good part of Keanu's performance, as we've talked about, when he switches into action hero mode is when he's at his best in this.
Action hero mode in this movie being he tumbles down a hill.
Well, I will say that from here on out, he is benefiting from being a character in a scene with other people. As in not carrying the weight of the narrative. He becomes one of the group of Dracula hunters from here on out, and I think that he does fine. Well, and again, I love the attention to detail that they took. Every time they do a nod to the book, I'm like, yeah, because post him escaping Castle Dracula, his hair has gone prematurely gray. That is from the book. I'm always excited by that. But anyway, so yeah, he does escape from those. And I gotta say, guys, they are vampires, but they're sexy naked ladies. Do you think you'd really be all that much in a hurry to escape from the sexy naked ladies?
Well, I maybe if I'm coming back to Winona Ryder.
You're right. I mean, a Monica Bellucci, there's nothing wrong with that.
If you're talking about me now, yeah, I'm giving myself over to the vampires, but there's very little keeping me.
Yeah.
And it's a running thing on this show that we've talked about, Brendan, which is between the two of us, I am very willing to join the forces of darkness. Maybe more so than you. I believe countless times I have said, I don't know. I think what was it in our last movie, Children of the Night? Didn't I say, and I believe this is my opinion of that movie, I'm going, once the whole town, like everyone in town is a vampire.
Yeah, everyone is a vampire.
I'm joining up. I'm not going to be the lone guy to fight the town of vampires. If everybody's doing it, all right, I do want to belong.
I gotta say,
assuming all of the classic vampire tropes are present, I'm with John on this one, 100% on board.
It doesn't seem that
so long
bad.
as there's not some weird twist to the vampire mythology that this vampire's not telling me.
I don't want to.
Yes, and by the way, you can't, exist above a certain latitude in the existence of the world. Can no longer be in Barcelona.
I don't want to be a thrall or familiar, or serve anyone, anything like that.
Right.
But I think I can live with the thirst
I
for
would
blood.
need to know the rules up front.
Yeah.
Can I be a vampire and not kill, but just feed?
Oh,
That's
I've talked
fine.
about this.
I don't want to kill anybody. And
I
also,
think I'd go vigilante, though. I think I'd seek out the prey of people who have it coming and go that route.
And you'll be their judge, jury, and executioner?
I shall be the punisher of vampires, yes.
I would also need to know that it would not harm my soul. Like eventually, would I be able to move on to a better place once I was staked or whatever?
But
if I'm going to burn in hell for being a vampire, even for like 50 minutes, because I'd probably be a vampire that gets staked almost immediately.
I'm not going to go up against a Van Helsing for very long. No, I agree. I don't want to be one of the Buffy vampires where you essentially get taken over by a demon. That shit I'm not interested in. But I will say something like a What We Do in the Shadows vampire, that life seems delightful.
Well, they're delightful. Yeah, of course you want to hang out with them.
Yeah,
I'd be one of them, or I could be a
By the way,
Sookie Stackhouse Mysteries.
I don't want to be one of those.
I don't know.
Unless I get the abs.
I was gonna say I would feel inferior standing next to an Alexander Skarsgård.
Yeah,
and going.
I thought the abs and the ass comes with it though when you become a vampire in that world.
True. Sign me up.
Yeah, didn't you? His character was very paunchy prior to the transformation. But I do stand by it once again. If all my friends are vampires and we're all just gonna keep hanging out and. As if I can still have a subscription box at a comic book store and stuff like that. How you doing?
Will you stay open a little bit later for me? I can't come in any earlier.
But see, that would be the thing where it's like all I have my familiar doing is going to pick up my comics.
Okay.
It's
so
all right.
Get familiars,
you don't have to do anything like that. I mean, it'd be pretty good. I just go like, can you get me the following things? Just get me some comic books and such like that. Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. Even being a vampire, still love to read about the other fictional vampires.
Of course,
man.
sure. Yeah, why not? They're still your hero.
Oh, you could meet. Maybe you could meet Maybe you could meet a Count Dracula. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, you're not. Look, you're a Z-lister compared to Dracula.
Well, but I think it'd be more of like a reception situation, kind of like meeting the Queen. I think that's what it would be like to meet. I think maybe there's a photo op involved.
Oh, very nice.
Well, you got to pay like $50 at the convention for that, John.
That's what I mean. I think Dracula's kind of a guy. I imagine a real Dracula would be a guy making appearances. Yes, and stuff like that.
We need to keep the line moving along. The Count does not have all night. Keep the line moving.
He knows you appreciate his work. Yeah. We know he was a big inspiration.
Yeah, he's only signing one item, folks. Only one item. You can't bring your whole. Oh my God. Okay, I don't want to get off on that rant, but the guys who go to conventions and will bring like somebody's entire 60-issue run to them, and then want them to go, could you sign all these? Like, hey, fuck off, buddy.
Wow. Hot language.
Well, I am just going, come on, man. Now I'm waiting for for Matt Fraction to sign every issue of Iron Fist he wrote, and you're like...
All I can say is we just lost a certain demographic thanks to your potty mouth, so whatever. All the 10-year-olds that were listening to us talk about this movie.
I'm the bad boy of the Monsters podcast.
Yeah, you are.
So while we have Harker escaping, which I think is a pretty... effective action sequence of him crawling across the side of the castle, falling into the water. Like I said, I do think you talk about benefit of being in other scenes, but also Keanu is always good at the physicality. He's good at this kind of stuff. Later, when he's got a gun and he's riding a horse and stuff like that, like that's where Keanu excels. He is an action star, and he looks good doing that. When he's fighting vampires, I want to see that. And if you want to see that movie, Brendan, I know you probably don't like it, but I do really enjoy his Constantine movie because it is Keanu fighting monsters.
If you divorce it from the DC property it spawned from, yes, I think it's a pretty decent,
it's a good supernatural
urban fantasy flick.
Yeah.
If you changed his character name and removed all connections to a great comic series, then yes.
But come on, he's got a cross shotgun in that movie, and
I can enjoy that Constantine movie the same way I can enjoy the '98 Godzilla as a decent monster flick divorced from the Godzilla franchise.
Sure.
Man, I agree completely. Yeah, for me, it's about source material. Not that the movie itself is necessarily unentertaining, but if you have fucked with great source material, I'm not your friend. You're not my friend. And then I say good day to you, sir. I say good day.
We were talking about
Hear that, Roland Emmerich? I finally got somebody on my side.
I think a lot of people on your side. I think me enjoying that movie is the rare opinion.
That really is.
I enjoy that '98 Godzilla. It's a fun summer blockbuster. I don't know what to tell you, man. All right. So then we get this scene of while this is happening, Dracula is moving in on Harker's girl, because we get this scene of the two of them. Another kind of, I think, oft-used image from this movie is the two of them dancing with the candles around them. I feel like this is often an image people associate with this movie.
Is this the bit where he gets them turned on absinthe?
Yes.
No, that was right before this.
Yeah,
Was
I mean,
right before?
it's this sequence, though.
It's the sequence. We keep intercutting. That's the thing. Is
it's going back and forth between Harker's escape,
and
from
it's not
Casablanca.
even clear if this is sort of dreamlike anyway. Because what place would they be dancing at that has all these candles set up, except for perhaps the set of a Meatloaf video, which I think
do anything for love.
Yeah.
Wait, you don't know about the Victorian candle dancing parlors, Brendan?
Oh no,
I'm actually surprised Meatloaf didn't try to get in this movie. This seems like one of the things he would have been like. I'd be perfect.
Actually, was that song after this movie came out? Because that video did seem to.
It's
based a lot on Phantom of the Opera, obviously.
Yes, I think
Broadway's
that's
Phantom
the
of
image.
Opera.
I mean, let's be honest, a lot of Meatloaf's career, particularly in the 80s and 90s, feels Phantom of the Opera, right? I mean, like
he was always the big operatic and
theatrical
prog rocker, romantic guy.
And I mean, God, I loved his stuff, man, in that era. Bad Outta Hell and stuff like that. I had those albums. I had both Bad Outta Hell and Bad Outta Hell too.
Gerard Butler owes a lot to Meatloaf in terms of his singing performance in Phantom of the Opera.
Except for, I'd say you're pretty much correct, except for Meatloaf can sing.
No, I think I think
he did base a lot of what he tried to do.
I think Gorgone is right about that was the goal. I think that was where he started from, where it's like I'm a rock opera guy.
I would do anything for love.
I mean, it's that song,
but I won't do that. And I always wanted to know, what is that?
Oh.
What is that thing that you won't
triple homicide?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am willing to kill 2 people at the same time, but 3, come on, lady. I love you, baby, but not that much. I told you when we got together, I got rules. I'm surprised Meatloaf didn't try. I wonder if he put himself out there to be the Phantom, because I could see him wanting to do that. And he goes, I'll lose the weight.
Yeah, just give me like 6 months, man. 6 months with the trainer.
No, I think Meatloaf was one of those guys who, because even when he did kind of slim down, he was always just going to be a bigger dude.
The owner of the opera character in Phantom? I feel like Meatloaf could have played that guy.
Oh yeah, the guy who owns the opera. Well, he's different,
except for
version.
for the musical and for the musical film, and yes, we're way off track here, but I think that for that they did want to have the Broadway voices.
Well, that we've talked
it's
about.
not a rock opera, so I mean you would still need to be like, I just got a note from the Phantom, and I can't see Meatloaf singing that. He could do anything for love, but he would not do that. So
I won't do Broadway. No. All right. So yeah, Mina. Okay, Mina.
What we're saying is Bram Stoker's Dracula could have used more Meatloaf. We all agree.
I mean, the
delicious food, and it's easily made.
The style of this movie does kind of fit the aesthetic of Meatloaf. Yes, it's true. I do think it has that vibe to it.
Especially when they're doing the spins and twirls and all the candles. And it's romantic. He is definitely, as we said, both evoking her previous life memories, but also he's kind of literally brainwashing her into falling for him.
This is the thing
again.
I think I talked about in the first part of this episode that I do really like. There is this sincerity to she does look like the woman he loved, and he does want to be with her, but also he is still using his vampire abilities and literally, in this case, chemical alterations with the absinthe and stuff like that to kind of ply her into being with him. So he's not, I mean, because people go like, oh, Gary Oldman's the romantic Dracula. It's like, yeah, but he's still evil. Like, he's still clearly evil. He has
You're never going to escape the vampire mesmer as like an underlying. If the threat of that is there, you've already compromised this relationship.
Well, just sort of going like, could Dracula ever just woo somebody, really? And I don't know, because it's tough when that is something you can fall back on.
Yeah, and the fact that she is the reincarnation, because he doesn't plant those memories. So this movie is
I can't
for the
leave
world
this
of
to chance.
yeah, he's definitely, this movie is positing it's not something that he's like, man, she looks just like her. This is her going, I see your place, and it's in this great forest, and all.
I,
Like, okay,
I think
right,
he's pushing her towards those memories, but yes, he has not planted those in her.
But couldn't an argument to be made like he's got his vampire mind powers? What's stopping him from having implanted those memories? We don't actually know.
Well, that's true. I mean, we're going based on...
I would say the only corroborating evidence is the fact that the mural looks exactly like her at the end of the movie.
Well, also, I think fact that usually, or at least with vampire mesmerism, it's not psychic abilities. In other words,
this is Dracula we're talking about.
He still has to speak them. So it could be him like going, you see my castle. You see the... And she goes, I see the castle. It's a very nice thing.
Well, and I think,
he's surprised. He's like, what? How did you know that?
And then I think I think it's in the performances of Gary Oldman being like, wait a minute. Because he does have that line when he goes, you talk of my land like you've been there.
Yeah.
But I think then he's like... I think then it's like, now keep opening your mind, and I think it's more about, I'm going to push you towards remembering more of that, and maybe he's opening her mind further. But I think the memories are in there. He's just sort of unlocking them. And still manipulating her in just general, like not even vampire power way, but just going like, isn't that right? Oh, yes.
Your boyfriend's not around, but I am.
Yeah,
and it is like kind of a dick to me. That's just me. But
and it is a thing where we're talking about, Gary Oldman. He's a good-looking guy, but he's not Keanu Reeves.
No.
And so I think there is sort of it's like, well, geez, I better bring the A game, if you will.
Do you notice my top hat? Yeah, it is very large.
My plan of petting a wolf in front of her didn't work. Time to up my game.
That was pretty sexy, actually. I will say that was pretty mysterious. And oh, look, I've made friends with the wolf.
I mean, again, James
scene.
V. Hart's script. That's a very interesting way of tying in the loose wolf storyline from the book.
Yeah,
because that doesn't happen in the book, but. It is a neat idea that this is yet another symbolic way that he's going, look, the beast, it is a beast, but it has a heart, and you just pet it and you give it love and look at it.
Almost like somebody else,
Yeah. Get it? You get it?
Yeah.
Mina, it's a metaphor.
Yeah.
Is
Put
this
it together. Think about my Dracula impression is just more and more becoming Nandor from What We Do in the Shadows, but especially when he is
guy.
Yeah, especially when he is doing this, like, that's right, remember this. He does have the desperate Dracula is kind of that, where he is just like, because we're talking about whatever plans he has to like take over London are totally being sidelined by his attempts to woo Mina here. This is all he's up to. I guess he's turned Lucy in the background, but that's kind of become like an afterthought at this point. But
and besides, that didn't last long. It's like, oh, okay, well.
He turns Lucy out of like a frustrated, like, oh, I could kill Mina, but I don't want to because she's probably the woman I love reincarnated. I gotta kill somebody.
Yeah. Someone's got to die. That's going to happen. So let's get to that, where this is Mina coming to see the infirmed Lucy, and this is the first time Mina meets Professor Van Helsing, who is so happy to see her. Oh my God.
This scene was so disturbing to me because Lucy never stops making an orgasm sound the entire scene.
I mean, we've talked about Sadie Frost's performance in this.
So you said disturbing. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I actually have it on a loop. It's
Brendan suddenly was sitting up and paying attention here, going like, you have my attention again, movie. You
have won me over, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Sadie Frost is going for it in every scene of this movie. She really is. And she is always writhing and always seducing. Like it's just like she is down for anybody here, man.
Whoever is in the room, because they all got blood in them.
In the last part, I talked about how like unremittently horny this movie is.
Yeah, it's
and every scene with Lucy typifies that, when she is, like you said, writhing and creating this sense that, like, she is very much dying, but boy, is she enjoying it all the way down.
Except for the garlic. That's the one thing in the room. She's like, "Get this out of here!"
Yeah. She smacks it like Lugosi smacking that cigarette case.
But then that's where she turns to Elway's here. No. Sorry, she turns to Quincy and she's like, "Come here, Quincy. Come on, just get a little closer." And I do like that he's leaning in, and then you see the she goes to bite him, and that's when Van Helsing's like, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
which I do. There's nothing I love more than when Hopkins is like, "Oh, I don't fucking think so" in this movie.
Yeah.
Get away, man. And I love the play of the vampire being like, damn, I almost had him.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah. Oh, Van Helsing. Always so good. Yeah.
And then she goes, "You want some of this, old man? You want some of this?" Because she is coming on to every single thing.
No, she's just going. It's like, well, that's not working. Let me go to you. We'll just see. One of you people wants to get with me, and I can use that to bite you. So yeah, that's
when this fails, she'll turn to child murder. But yeah.
A little attempted child murder.
I think it's both Bram Stoker in the novel thought that would be ultra creepy. True. But I also think it's like, a newborn vampire, what's the easiest prey? Okay. Yeah, they might go after babies first because she's just getting to know what being a vampire is all about.
So following this,
Drax's not there to help her. He's not helping her at all.
No, this is very much a the baby bird was left in the nest and the mama bird flew away scenario.
Right.
I've moved on to other things. Whatever happens to Lucy,
I'm trying to get with your best friend. Yeah. You understand?
Yeah. Yes. Look, you were always a placeholder.
It is not you. It's me.
Yeah. I just had.
Let's be honest. We knew it was going in the bad direction.
I'm just like super busy right now. And, there's so much going on at work, and I don't have time for a relationship.
But don't lose my number. We'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
Dracula's totally texting you up to Lucy.
Just bat emoji, red heart emoji.
Yeah.
You up?
Yeah. Well,
sun's down.
I don't know. Mina's being kind of a bitch right now, so Jesus. Dracula's got to get some.
But this is basically, like I said before, this story, or at least this section of the movie, is very much just taking what was implied in the book and just turning the dialogue. This entire movie just turns the dialogue.
When Gorgone's talking about this movie is so horny, so is the book. It's just the book can't be overtly horny.
Yeah.
But it's this repressed horniness that is inherent in there. But we've talked about the book is almost about the inability to be horny in the society and what happens when you start to open up that jar. When you're just cracking the seal on that. Here, Coppola's just fully like cut the lid off of this thing and gone, oh, this is what they're talking about the whole time, baby. Because it is the 90s and this movie is free to be horny. Here's the thing that's crazy to me, though, is it is kind of, this is like the only time this movie could get made. This movie would never get made today. This grand production that is this R-rated, I can't see it. It would be done as a Netflix series now, which I guess you could argue Moffat and Gatiss did. Even that, though, wasn't as horny as this by any stretch of the imagination.
I still haven't seen it.
Yeah, we've talked about doing that as some bonus content maybe at some point, too, if people want to have us do that three-part Dracula. It's really good.
There are plenty of extremely horny vampire things that have been made in the last 10 years.
Wait till we get to Argento's Dracula. Good Lord.
Sure.
I think this could be made, but they would. The thing is that what you can't really get away with now,
not by a major studio, I don't think, is sort of the thing. It's like a tentpole movie.
Sexy horror with a lot of violence is not a proper mix or a popular mix. So what they would do is they would go one or the other. And so they'd either go full bore on this is even gorier than you could have imagined, or they would turn it into a 50 Shades thing and try to go after that audience of
well, I was going to say, because I think it's not R-rated or as explicit, but you talk about horniness. The Twilight movies are all about teenage,
but
oh my God.
But there's a difference between the lustfulness of a modern day vampire story and the eroticism that is here in Bram Stoker
that once
Dracula.
again, as Brendan's saying, the idea that the sexiness and the scariness are together, and so even the eroticism in this movie is disturbing. You're kind of supposed to feel uncomfortable about how sexy everyone is being in this. You're supposed to be like, well, Lucy is hot, but also clearly turning into a monster, so I am conflicted as to how I feel right now. Much like the characters are. I mean, Quincy does seem to be like, well, I don't know, maybe I go in for that kiss right now, and it'd be weird, but also it feels like the right thing to do.
Because John, you're right about like this being the only time this movie could have been made, because we're in the same era as like Species, and
like there is sort of a boom
a lot of this going on.
And we did Subspecies, which is a lower budget B movie, but still is indicative of there's sort of this wave of erotic horror movies at this time.
Subspecies was not erotic at all, but they went the Hammer route to make sure you got boobs in it.
That's what I mean when it's almost par for the course. You expect that with your horror at this point, because I think Species is a good example. Gorgone, and there's a bunch of stuff like that. These kind of
I mean, you think about even something as more overtly horror as like Alien Resurrection has this sense of just like
also Winona Ryder.
Weirdly enough,
Robot Winona. Sorry,
but
spoiler.
That has this element of just like, like taboo, like it's H.R. Geiger. We've gone past what is
Resurrection is the first time the Alien franchise really gets horny. There's always kind of a like the first movie, everyone is gorgeous, but there's like an austere kind of sexuality to it. They're all sexy, but they're all in like white pajamas. And it's asexual, like they're not acknowledging the gender. And then in Aliens, it's very familial, right? It's all about the mother and the daughter, and then this chaste romance with Hicks. And then 3 is just disturbing across the board. And it's
Look, John, this podcast is not an opportunity for you to pull out your college thesis
on the sexuality of the Alien franchise. Yeah. Well, we'll get there if we ever get to Campbell and Jones Meet the Aliens that we've talked about doing at some point. But we have so many spin-off shows.
But we're going to spend a lot of time in the 50s, man. Earth versus the Flying Saucers.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, man.
We got to talk about the classics.
Still. Yeah, no, we'll start heavy in the 50s, obviously.
Perfect.
That'll be, I think, where it begins, because I think that, but I can't wait to talk about them.
But that wouldn't even be Aliens. Them, we would have to do a whole giant monster.
Well, we've also talked, I mean, once again, we have a lot of spin-off ideas. Campbell and Jones Meet the Kaijus is also part of it, too.
Jesus, you said the wrong word in front of Gorgone.
Well, because I've had
literally a line of drool.
With the Meet the Monsters, I have had people ask, like, well, when you say monsters, are you going to get to Godzilla? I had somebody ask, are you going to do the Jaws movies? I'm going, that might be a miniseries. That might be bonus content miniseries. Campbell and Jones Meet the Big Sharks.
The thing with Jaws is it's not even... It's an animal attack movie. They do, like, Bruce the shark is supposed to be an enormously large...
As that franchise goes forward.
It's not a kaiju. It's just a very big great
they were just talking about would we consider it a monster movie, though.
Right, because talk about being trapped in the 50s, like the number of giant animals because of radiation movies from the 50s and 60s.
Yeah,
I love it. Be there forever.
But particularly those Jaws sequels firmly get into monster movie territory. The second that thing is coming after the Brodies for personal vengeance.
Yeah, once it becomes personal.
Yeah.
God. All right, moving back,
yes.
This is why our podcasts take too long.
Well, welcome to this show.
Can we do 4 hours on the second half of it?
Well, I mean, look, if you've been listening to the show this long, you know this is what the show is a lot of the time. But Mina gets a letter from a nunnery saying that they have Jonathan and they're taking care of him. And
BT Dubs, we found your man.
Yeah.
Come get.
Yes. Yeah. Have
those
Harker,
nice nuns. Please
come pick up. The sight of Keanu Reeves is forcing some of us to question our vows. He also keeps saying, I am an FBI agent.
He's not in a good way.
No, he's
talking about red pills and blue pills. Please get him.
What is the Matrix?
We can never know.
But on the positive side, he now knows Kung Fu.
Well, that's...
So while she goes to be with Haruka, we see Van Helsing pull out some history books, and he's reading about Vlad Dracul.
I fucking love that even this movie, which is a very intelligent, for the most part, take on this material, we still get a Van Helsing scene where he has an enormous leather-bound volume that has the word vampires on it.
We've seen so many of these movies now, and it does feel like somewhere, at some point, there was a law created that you have to put one of these scenes into any movie with Van Helsing, because it really is going back to the 30s, man.
Why can't you have like a Latin title, or even this? Most books of that period that would have been made, like that thing looks like it was made in like the 11th or 12th centuries, wouldn't have a title on it anyway.
I think
so. It's like it's enough for him to open up some creakly old pages and start talking about the Nosferatu must stay in his. We'll get the point, the way, but having a huge vampires written on it, I'm like, I've seen that at Barnes and Noble. I should have gotten that.
That's the illusion in the first episode of Buffy, right? The big book with vampire on the front.
Yeah, but even that would be nice if it said vampire. Like, that makes it seem more. This is just like vampires.
Sure. So literally,
Mike's fun fact corner right now.
Oh, Mike's fun fact corner.
Vlad, when it comes to like woodblock prints of Vlad the Impaler,
there's a very known one.
Well, there's some very known ones, but so around the time when Vlad the Impaler was doing his thing in Wallachia,
we're talking about
that was right when the printing press was like really getting going. So the two best, like most printed things of that time were A, the Bible, of course, and B, hot gossip about this wackadoodle guy in the middle of Romania impaling people. So actually, his like legend being spread throughout Europe during that time period and becoming what it was thanks to the printing press and the popularity of hot, gory gossip.
I love
that and literally slanderous, because the whole I mean, he did do those things, but the Germans, who were the printing press masters, those pamphlets about old Vlad the Impaler, with the very famous woodcut that we see in this movie of him sitting at the banquet table with the people on the stakes while he's dining and feasting and doing all that thing, that's a very famous one. But it was all them like going, those dirty Wallachians, those dirty Romanians. It was literally meant to be like propaganda.
Well, it's where a lot
so they really played up the gory shit.
You get the monstrous legend of where you can start to connect him to the mythical character of Dracula at this point. Then a lot of that comes from Stoker. Stoker kind of implying stuff based on things people said in this, sort of thing.
He cherry-picked some local history, and then it's like, I like that name, love it.
But I mean, isn't there stuff about him having sharp teeth and drinking blood or kind of stuff?
Oh, there's all sorts of rumors.
Yeah, I mean,
not sharp teeth, but that's why that woodcut is often referenced.
Drinking of the blood,
because
and he can't be
the
killed
idea of
like
him
a normal person, and
feasting amongst the dead on the spikes. Some people said that he filled his goblet with blood and would drink their blood. And you're like, yeah, but that didn't happen. That was just them making him into an even more of a monster. But yes, you could tie in some vampirism there. It's really not a hard jump to imply this historical figure.
It's and that's what Hart says on the 4K as well on his thing, where he just goes like, oh, I just kind of went like, oh, well, that makes sense, and this to here. And he's not the first to do that, but he talks about it is just like, oh, it's such an easy glom onto. It's not,
and it's amazing that Bram Stoker himself probably didn't even know that much, and he literally kind of just liked the name.
Right.
So the fact that he
is only kind of loosely,
he found the one historical figure from that area and the time period he wanted to suggest this guy may have been from. He picked the one character based on a name that could have possibly,
because it does sound cool, Dracula.
Yeah, and son of the devil, son of the dragon. All of that is that works.
Have either of you read the Cullen Bunn comic, The Brothers Dracul?
No.
Really good. Highly recommend it. His sort of take on the more historical, grounded...
The teen years of Vlad and Radu.
It reads as an origin story of Dracula or Dracula, depending on if you want to extend it into the supernatural. But still, it is the beginnings of Vlad the Impaler. And it's not overtly supernatural in itself, but you could still read it as even a further prequel to Dracula if you want to imagine that guy then becomes a vampire. It's really good. Nice. I highly recommend it. It's just a little 6-issue miniseries, so it's easy to from the good folks.
Does it have a lot of buggery in it?
So much.
Because they were prisoners of the Turks, both brothers, and they probably were raped constantly while they were in prison.
Sons of Anarchy star Charlie Hunnam has been shopping a script about Dracula forever, and that's like been his big passion project that he wants to get made, that he wrote, and like a really grounded, realistic story of Vlad the Impaler, starting from that, because he just goes like, this guy is a badass, and we've never really seen the actual story on screen. We see the Dracula versions of it, the vampire.
I have an actual Romanian film from the 90s that I found on the internet that was like a mini-series about Vlad the Impaler, total historical drama, and he is a folk hero to them. But I can't find English subtitles.
Oh, no.
So I've only been able to watch it, and it's pretty handsomely made. And I was like, wow.
I was going to say, I'd like to see this, but yeah, that would be the tough.
And it's completely not, supernatural at all, but I'm like,
that
this
sounds
looks
cool.
great.
That sounds great, yeah.
Vlad Tepes, a 1979 Romanian historical drama directed by Doru Nastane.
Was it 1979? I thought it was later.
I'm just looking at...
that could be it.
So
I'm just on Wikipedia, so who knows?
When Mina leaves to go get Jonathan, Dracula is bummed, to say the least.
Because he almost had her.
And so she's going to be with Jonathan, and we even see her writing this letter going like, hey, Prince Vlad, what we had was fun, but I really love Harker, and that's who I got to be with. And we just can't speak of this.
Dear Vlad letter, and
he is so mad he turns into some kind of monster about it, literally.
Yeah, and he's like, no.
I do really I like this makeup. I like this whole thing where even the mask of the civility and the humanity has gone away, and he's in his full distraught, and he's still in this like regal kind of prince outfit, but his face is real monstrous, and he's got no nose.
He's got a man-bat face.
And this is a prime example, apparently, of what we talked about on the last episode, where he and Oldman and the makeup artist just came up with a bunch of looks. This is definitely one of them that was like, not in the script that he's supposed to be in this sort of in-between transformation, but wouldn't it be cool if he was? And it is cool. And I do think it actually says something about the character that he's vacillating between man and monster here. I like it.
I think that he's... it is a mask that he's trying to pretend to be this romantic prince guy, but just under the surface it's like, can I keep the fact that I'm a multi-century supernatural monster? Can I hide that from her, and how long can I?
Because it does.
But you cut into it a little bit, and it all just comes up, and it's effective.
One of the things I like about Oldman's Dracula is he is aware of the abomination he is. He's not, he's not like completely like, because I've talked about his performance in Lost in Space where he's like, I'm a monster. He's not fully that. He still is like, feels justified in what he's doing, but he did choose to turn against God and embrace darkness, but he feels justified in that decision. But he also is not naive enough to think that he doesn't have to like pretend to be a real guy to get with Mina. He knows there is a monster lurking inside of him.
I mean, it's typified in that scene, the scene when they start to drive Dracula out, right? Yeah. Is when she's ostensibly having sex with him, but he's not really there, but he's also is there as the Bat Monster.
Oh, that gets some crazy psychosexual shit in that scene.
Yeah.
I am here for it. It is something that I do not enjoy, and I often point out the gratuitous sexuality in a lot of these movies. But when you want him to get into like disturbing, like the Cronenberg fan in me comes out.
Clive Barker shit.
Yeah, I kind of am into that. I'm like, if you want to make sex scary and weird in movies, I'm here for it all day, man. I want to feel
I am not that.
John, a big fan of the Hellraiser franchise.
The first two are good. The first one in particular, and I think the second one has interesting stuff, let me say. From there it's a nightmare. And not in the way they want it to be. No, it's just bad.
Not in the hot nightmare way.
No, it's just in like just continually terrible filmmaking. By the time he's in space, and we'll get there if we ever get to our slashers,
By the time anybody ends up in space, you've jumped many a shot.
Oh, and we'll get there, man. We'll get to Dracula in space. I don't know if we'll ever get to. Do we get to any? I don't think we get to anybody else in space. I don't think Frankenstein goes to space, but
we'll see.
I can't think of it, but that's one of those things. We keep discovering movies we don't even know existed. So
in Frankenstein Unbound, we did have some time travel.
Oh yeah, we did see a Frankenstein time travel movie on the show.
Did you do the Frankenstein kaiju movie?
No, we didn't do that.
Oh, that makes me sad. Oh,
well, there's a process these movies go through because we don't literally do anything with these things obviously, but no, we did not do that one.
Frankenstein versus Baragon. It's good stuff.
I mean, we didn't do stuff like Jesse James versus Dracula and stuff like that.
Jesse James meets Frankenstein's daughter, and Billy the Kid versus Dracula.
Billy the Kid versus Dracula. Yes, yeah, we didn't do those because there's some stuff that's just come on. Well, there's some stuff that's so beneath us that is.
You're not going to do a Scooby-Doo meets Dracula or
Frankenstein? No, we don't do children's programming either.
We're not going to do the Batman versus Dracula, the animated feature, which I did watch.
And actually,
Scooby-Doo at Ghoul School, was that it? Where him and Shaggy are teachers at that monster prep academy?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Jonathan is all gray-haired, and he marries Mina in Romania. And here's the thing that cracks me up about that. This led to the big thing recently where they're like, they actually got married on set because that was an actual Orthodox
of God.
Priest.
Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves are married. And my favorite
But that's
part...
not true. Because if you watch it, they're using the character names. The priest says Jonathan and Mina.
But they enjoy that. Winona and Keanu enjoy that.
It's a great bit of...
My favorite thing in the trivia is that it is possible that they are actually married, and then it's just the next sentence is, and they say they are both fine with this. And apparently they text each other, "Hello, husband. Hello, wife."
That's adorable.
Because they really are very close friends, and you see that anytime they're interviewed together and stuff. They really do love each other quite a bit. Those two.
They came up through the same ranks.
They did, exactly, and they are still very close. They had that movie, because a lot of this came up during the promotion for their rom-com they had out a couple years ago, Destination Wedding, with the two of them, which the whole press tour was, look at how cute they are, and also is probably objectively maybe a better use of them, because that movie is just 90 minutes of the two of them being charming and bantering with each other. And you're like, and it was cute. It's not like a great movie, but they are so likable and charming in it that you're just going like, oh.
I'm always down for more Winona, though I did worry about her during her bad times.
Yeah. She seems to have she's weathered that better than so many people in Hollywood have weathered their controversies. But it was also nice to see both of them in something where they got to be cute and charming, because both of them tend to do stuff where they are both in extremes, Keanu and I mean, look at Stranger Things. Every season Winona is at the end of a rope. My God, the worst thing ever could be happening to her. And Keanu's always pissed off and about to murder 100 people. So I think it was a thing for both of them to be like, oh, we'll just be guests at a wedding who can't stand each other, of course.
Can you imagine what they get up to?
Yeah. Spoiler alert, they end up falling in love. Can you believe it?
Shocker.
Can you believe it? But they hated each other so much at the start. Yeah, so they
And he's hideous.
Oh, God, such an uggo. I do like that he's still.
If there's one thing we know about Keanu Reeves under his IMDb nicknimes, it says Uggo.
Uggo. And particularly because he's aged so poorly.
Yeah.
Both of them. I don't know if they're really married, but they both might have been turned into vampires because the two of them have not aged basically.
Yeah.
They both, Keanu's almost 60, and by God,
he's held up better than his rival, Mr. Depp, who is I think due to various substances, he's gotten that puffed out thing going now.
Depp has that interesting move from he did age really well and then just went off a cliff at a certain point.
Yeah, he really did.
And it is sort of like that's what the substance abuse will do to you. I think he started hitting the sauce and maybe some other stuff.
So this is a good time to put in the PSA. Kids, stay in school.
Yeah.
From your
stay
friends,
in drugs, don't do school.
Yeah,
stay in drugs, don't do school.
I think also just, the lifestyles they lead. Keanu seems like such a quiet Zen dude who doesn't, engage in a lot of the tabloid kind of stuff and just kind of quietly goes about his work. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, I think he's always been a much healthier megastar than a lot of his cohorts.
And famously one of the nicest human, but he is Canadian, so...
All right, back on topic.
Oh man, I'm always ready to talk lovingly about Keanu, though. I know. Back on topic is while this is happening, they're off getting married. All hell's gonna break loose back here in England, though, because Lucy's going full vampire at this point, and it's up to literally like all the other leads of the movie to deal with that. This is kind of, and this obviously is some of this is from Stoker, but the idea that like, oh, they're gonna go off and it's so lovingly shot the way they get married and stuff. Meanwhile, we gotta fucking kill Vampire Lucy back in England.
It is again very smart construction where James Hart has taken these. They don't happen concurrently in the book, but he's put it here so you have this emotional big moment. Two big moments. So Lucy's final death and turning into a vampire, because Dracula now is so angry, ties into the anger that he's lost Mina supposedly to Jonathan, that he's like, fuck it, I'm taking him out. I'm taking Lucy out. So she's dead. Then she's buried. Meanwhile, over in Romania, happy marriage. And then basically Van Helsing going, we lost Lucy. She's now a vampire, and I know you don't believe me, so I got to prove it to you. Let's go to her crypt and see if she's in there.
The scene where we're gonna finally kill Lucy also does have this great moment. I love the whole POV Dracula attack, but I also love, and this is just because I do like that Coppola will let this be an action movie in times. I love the I'm going to sit watch here, Arthur, and he opens up the wooden case with the dual pistols, and Quincy's outside in his duster with the lever action rifle.
Yes, knife.
He's got his big knife. He's got the Winchester rifle.
Yeah.
I do love, and one of my favorite moments is, it doesn't do anything, obviously, because it's Dracula, but when we're in that POV of the flying Dracula, that Quincy just starts unloading. Like, it's that thing it's the same thing I love in Empire, when it's the instant, like, I'm not even gonna, that thing's fucking evil, and I'm gonna kill it right now. It's the Darth Vader quick draw and start shooting as soon as possible.
Yeah,
even if it doesn't work, it's still just
a gigantic demonic bat fly
and
at
he's
him.
just like, he doesn't even have time to be like, oh fuck, he's just like, die.
Yeah.
Also, the insane waist-length tassels on his jacket sleeves.
Yes.
You can't get, you
Quincy,
are so upset with those.
I mean, Quincy's my favorite character in this thing by far. Which
I'm so happy he's there because he is
I'm so happy he's there. But they let him be the badass he should be too. Is also they cast a great, like, I mean, number one, a guy who I already love as an action hero because he's the Rocketeer.
Billy Campbell. I wish that man's career had been so much bigger because I love him.
You know, he was the first choice to play Riker on Next Generation.
Man.
Before Frakes.
What a different world we'd be living in.
I know, right? Frakes would have been Quincy Harker. That's the Tomb of Dracula. He would have been Quincy. What's his last name?
Quincy Morris.
Morris, yes. Yes.
Quincy Harker is the name of Jonathan and Mina's kid.
Yes. And who becomes a big part of Tomb of Dracula.
Yeah.
Which I do see that on your shelf behind you, Gorgone.
Oh yes, that's because I was just rereading some of that.
Yeah.
And it's
Because
great.
it's great. Yeah.
It is. It is great. It is. Yeah, that is.
Bring back Blade's original costume. Give me green visor.
That will
Oh my
not
God,
happen.
we're so in agreement.
Not in a million years.
Green ski goggles, badass shaft coat, bandoliers
I have
with
a
wooden
feeling-
daggers in it.
I don't know.
yeah.
I think Wesley's.
Fro.
I think Wesley Snipes has firmly changed the look of that character forever.
For the worse.
Oh, I don't. Not in any kind of functional way that's legitimately cool. But
I just want Blade in Mahershala Ali's Blade movie to call Dracula a turkey. That's all I want.
Oh,
That's all I want out of life.
I stand by you with that. That is very cool.
Oh my God, I so want that.
Get back, you
oh,
turkey.
God.
What if the Blade movie took place in the 70s, guys? Could you imagine?
I mean,
I'd
he's
watch
the
the hell out of
Daywalker. Technically, he could have been fighting Dracula from the 70s till now.
That's what I
Yep.
mean. And then he could meet up with the Avengers, now, and another thing. But give me his origin story in the 70s. I don't think that's going to happen because we already have him in modern day talking to the Black Knight. Anyway, we're off on the fucking MCU, of course.
I know. It happens.
So, yeah, I do like this whole attack here, though. And this is where he turns into the wolf to break
he goes
into.
from bat to wolf, and then he literally just kind of, it's obviously overplayed for drama's sake, but it's like gouts of blood. Just
I love
huge.
this is the kind of stuff I love in this movie when the room just fills with blood and it's going into the lamps to make all the lighting red, and you're like, I love
And
this
I
stuff.
was sitting there
It is
going,
approaching Evil Dead 2 levels
Yeah.
of gore.
Yeah.
and I remember being in the theater watching this and turning to my girlfriend at the time and going, "You think she's okay?"
Sure, she's fine.
Yeah.
Just a flesh wound.
This is survivable, right? I just hope nothing happens to Lucy.
Yeah, I just,
Going
I
into
came here for Sadie Frost.
Yeah, going into the movie promoted as being really faithful and novel, and going like, God, I hope Lucy's okay.
You have to be the biggest idiot.
Yeah. Man, what? Like somebody stands in the theater and goes, I can't believe they killed Lucy. What? No!
Not in my Dracula movie.
I always love the idea of getting super attached to like a side character and just being like, no! Why?
Well, I still think,
especially in like a
that,
horror thing, right? Like,
I still think of Superman the movie as being a four-hander of Superman, Lois, Lex, and the guy who says, "Say, Jim, woo, that's a bad outfit.
Yeah.
Woo!" Best side character of all film history.
We got to get Ibrahim on here because he and I oft reference that scene. And the fact that Tom Mankiewicz also has somebody call James Bond Jim. And they would think it's because he's James Bond. But no, it's just, was Tom Mankiewicz under the impression this was common slang tossed around? Yeah, it was. It was a white guy writing black slang for characters in the 70s. Yeah, because you see Tom Hanks, he's like, well, when I was writing the Superman movie, and I imagined a black,
wow, that's an excellent Mankiewicz.
Yeah, I kind of started to verge into Irvin Kershner by the end of it there, but
Irvin Kershner.
yeah, something about this on this swamp planet with the goblin creature. So yeah, Dracula finishes off Lucy here. And this is
She has been exsanguinated.
Exsanguinated indeed.
And this is buried in that big old doily of a wedding dress.
It's befitting her final wishes. In coordination with her final wishes, she said, "If I ever die, make sure you put me in the crazy wedding dress I made."
And they said, "No problem, dear."
Yeah.
But yeah, so
it's at her
she's
funeral though
buried
that we get the scene where Van Helsing goes, "I need the following surgical supplies." They're like, "What? Why? You want to perform an autopsy?" "No, I'd like to cut off her head and pull her heart, and cut through her heart or whatever it was."
Yeah.
Remove her heart and cut off her head.
Yeah.
And Hopkins crushes the just like, that's what I'm gonna do. This Van Helsing is all business, baby.
He's just saying this is what you do. And it's great.
Because as he's going like, well, now there's no denying we're dealing with a vampire. Nosferatu.
I do enjoy, in classic monster movie fashion, the people who are just like, well, yeah, a giant monster drained her blood, but it can't be vampires.
Let's not jump to conclusions, Van Helsing. We need more
I don't know
evidence.
what threw Arthur Holmwood across the room with psychic powers. It might have been a strong breeze. We don't know.
We're making leaps, my friend. It's always one of my favorite things in just all horror movies when it's just the characters who, like, to the very end of the movie are still like, hold on, there may be a logical explanation for this. Are you kidding me? It's still like, I don't know, vampires are a big leap, man. I mean, look, we do our, not to plug our patron work, but I guess to plug our patron content, where we our Kolchak show, Brendan. That's every episode of Kolchak. Everyone is still like, I don't know, Kolchak, vampires.
And of course, once he is in a setting, as in once he's in the same city, and multiple weeks pass where the same police force is going to constantly deny.
Kolchak.
Constantly deny.
You're telling me it's a werewolf? That seems pretty far-fetched.
Until you said swamp creature, and then I just said no.
But
I mean, that's the whole function of Scully's character in the X-Files.
Well,
right?
I mean,
every single episode until like season 5-ish, where she first starts to go, maybe you might be onto something here, Mulder.
And even still, it's a maybe and it's a case by case. Sure, aliens,
right.
But you're telling me a swamp creature? Come on, man. Yeah,
come on.
Yeah,
You're saying an elastic man who eats livers is crawling around killing people?
I just can't see it. So Harker and Mina come back to London, and you do get the scene where he sees Dracula walking the streets. He's like, hey, wait a minute. I know that guy. And why is he so young?
Yeah, it's, again, every time they use something direct from the book, I get giddy. Mm-hmm. Though in the book, that was when he was seen in the daylight. So the whole thing with Mina obviously doesn't happen in the book where they hook up and they go to lunch and check out a movie show. In the book, this is it. She's just come back with her PTSD husband, and they're in the carriage, and he sees him, and he goes, and it's the same line. They use it where he's like going, it's the man himself, but grown young.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
I also think Keanu is better as shaken PTSD afflicted Harker.
Sure.
Because that's where you get a little bit more of the like, I don't know, like that's
he's
the
given
guy
more
right
to
there.
do, right? Like he's given a range as opposed to this is a creepy house. Boy, this guy's creepy. Maybe I should poke around a little bit.
Between that and him literally talking about real estate, going, it's a fine house. Here's where you're going to want to be. It's got a great view,
But in the hands of an actor, even those scenes could have really crackled.
Well, I mean, he is an actor, Brendan, a more fitting actor. All right, let's not. Keanu is an actor.
You don't need to relitigate this.
Yeah. I concede on the. I'm willing to go as far as say he is miscast, but I am not willing to say he is bad. I just think it is an ill-fitting. And I still think there are moments.
I disagree. Moving on.
Yes. So that happens, and then finally we get Van Helsing and the three suitors going to Lucy's grave, and what's this? She's gone.
Yeah,
and I love this moment. They open it up and she's empty, and Holmwood's response is to pull a piece on Van Helsing.
Yeah.
What'd you do with her, man?
Well, I mean, look, if some weird old man leads you to the grave of your wife saying it's going to be empty, and then it is, my first assumption is he stole that body. How else would he know? Unless, vampires.
What you doing with her? Well, because once again, with the Holmwood is still not 100% on board with the vampire
and besides,
theory.
It's a horrific thought. So he just can't quite wrap his brain around.
We've seen people rejected. This is the first guy who's like pulled a gun on Van Helsing and been like, all right, I need some fucking answers right now, man.
He gets them very quickly because, again, this thing moves along through the plot of the book.
This is where we needed some of Keanu's speed energy to go, just put the gun down, man. We're just two cool guys.
And then because Lucy basically shows up post haste.
This is one of my absolute favorite scenes in the movie, which is she's coming in here to snack on this child, and then it's like, hey, everybody.
and she drops that kid, and then it's Seward, I think, that jumps in to grab the kid out of the way, like, yeah, let's get this child away from you, and great.
Come with me and we'll get you out of here. Oh dear God. But it is, I love the vampire being like, I wasn't gonna eat that kid. What are you talking about? This is all a big misunderstanding.
I brought this kid here for, it was lost, and I was helping him find his mother in a graveyard.
Yep. Yeah. Love vampires just being like, I can't explain this.
No, it's exactly what you think. I was going to eat that kid.
Yeah. I know this looks bad, but stay with me. Stay with me.
There's a reasonable explanation
and she once again,
for all
and
of
this I said before, this is still like to me one of the most chilling performances in the movie is Sadie Frost now in full vampire, and I think the costume does aid it. I think the weird costume, the totally pale, lack of blood skin on her, and this, because she has this angelic and disturbing kind of vibe, and she immediately starts putting the moves on Arthur, going like, "Come on, Arthur." You know what? You know it's me, baby.
It's that classic vampire thing of like, we could be together forever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, my husband, come to me. And you're like, yeah, okay.
And this is where we get the best thing you can ever Van Helsing do, which is just whip that cross out in like a quick draw and be like, back, you demon!
Man, it's awesome.
I mean, Hopkins in this movie, we've talked a little bit about, but especially now that we're deeper into this, God damn, I love Hopkins as Van Helsing, man.
Me too. And he's making interesting choices.
He is. He is not. He plays him as weird. He plays him as nerdy in places. He also
plays him as slightly not insensitive.
Yeah.
But it is
he's
a
all
thing where
business.
he's like going.
It's what I was saying. He is just. This is what it is, man. We don't have time to debate it anymore.
Right. Yeah. He's not being as solicitous as the character in the book.
Yeah.
But it's a great
This is
choice.
a guy who's just like, I'm sorry, we're dealing with evil. There's no time for feelings anymore.
Yeah.
This
I
has
know
to
you're
be
upset,
stopped.
but we have to kill these things right now.
And that is the badass Van Helsing we love. When Peter Cushing played him too, it's just the guy who's like, it's time to end this, man. I know it sucks, but you've got to drive this stake through her heart. I don't know what to tell you. And God, this is a great scene. This might be my favorite scene in the movie. Actually,
they drive her with the cross back into her crypt.
Yep.
And with reverse footage. They do a lot of reverse footage.
The reverse footage I do find legitimately unsettling every time they do it. Like with especially with the vampire brides, the two that were like warped together, kind of when they go backwards and their arms are doing that like almost Japanese
you have a director
horror.
This good, that's a cheesy technique, but he's using it in the right places.
Yes,
and he doesn't linger on it. It's all about. This will be unsettling if you see this for a few seconds.
Almost the whole movie is filled with decisions who, in lesser hands, would make this unwatchable.
Exactly right.
It is. Yeah. It is all because exactly. He is very smart about where he employs them, how long he lingers on them. There is no point where you're going like, oh, geez, this looks kind of.
Yeah.
Everything is like, ooh, that is spooky. The way she went backwards.
She reverses right back into her coffin and eyes closed again, and then. Basically, Van Helsing hands over the stake, which is iron.
Oh, which I do like.
Not wood, iron.
I like the iron stake, and a lot of it because I like the sound.
Yeah, and then he's like going. He just goes. One moment of strength, and then it's done, or something. One moment of courage, and it's done.
Yeah.
And so he just hands it to him, and there's the mallet.
Eloise crushes this, man.
Oh,
one of the best stakings of a vampire in anything. The torture and rage and sadness.
The rage, the sadness, it's all there in his face. These are good actors, man.
Because he builds to that scream, you see all the emotions cross through him, and he's just like, and he starts pounding.
And she screams, and then there's a fucking geyser of blood. That's what I want all day long.
It makes me think of Gorgone. Do you also think of Dracula Dead and loving it? Because we're both massive Mel Brooks fans. The absurd amount of gore that happens in that movie when you have the staking. It's one of my favorite jokes in that movie. Is just
one of the things I do love,
blood.
and it's intermittent in vampire movies, is when vampires go out, they go out like popping a mosquito or a tick.
Yes, I'm right there. I love that, man.
Like they're just like the insides of their body is literally just blood up to about their necks.
They're basically
so when they pop,
sacks of blood. Yeah, like because that's all they're filling up on. So yeah, it just could. And so yeah, I do, but it does always make me think of that.
Silly.
Yeah.
Don't you know that they process the blood and it becomes ichor, which is the fluid that keeps vampires alive?
Yeah. I mean, of course we know that, Brendan, but it is.
All right. It goes without saying.
I feel like this is born of that Hammer thing, because that was the whole thing in Hammer is the bloody stakings, right? That was the
graphically, it's what you want to see.
It really is. That's the thing. Who cares about how it actually functions? It is operatic,
it's magical gobbledygook.
Yes, and it's cool to see. It's very evocative imagery. And this, I mean, the amount of blood in this movie is insane. Just about. I mean, the fact, like starting with the cross getting stabbed and it bleeding and pouring blood all over the room, and you're just going like, yeah, he just is using this evocative blood. I mean, something that Coppola's whole filmography has never shied away from blood. Obviously, go back to The Godfather. Because Jesus Christ, but
I love how in the IMDb credits or trivia it's like all of the blood in this film is watered down red Jello.
Yeah.
Great.
Which is kind of cool actually, because it gives it that globs of stuff that we.
But I bet it was sticky, man.
Oh,
viscous.
Yeah, wait, talk to Listman. He was always the one getting covered in fake blood in the movies we made in high school. We were always just pouring it all over Listman.
Well, because how else is he supposed to look like he's covered in fake blood, John?
Listman was always getting brutally killed in every movie we made in high school. He did it well because he always did the best, like fly back from a shotgun blast or something,
It's a special skill.
Yeah, or he did. Somebody's head would pop in front of him, and he'd be like, ah! It's great stuff. All right, so she's. I do love the after the fact shot where her head is severed and they're all covered in blood and there's like, whew.
To do the and it's a little too much, but then again, he is doing a stylized movie. But
I was gonna say, like, the whole movie is kind of purposely a little too much.
The head flying through the air like it's like it's the asteroid at the beginning of Captain EO. There's a reference. That's
Captain what people tune into. Are they going to talk about Captain EO yet on the show?
I don't think we ever have.
I think it's the first, yeah.
It is like a rotating,
also directed by Coppola.
Space station of a head that floats through the air.
I mean, it works because that's also a Coppola. I don't know how many people are familiar with that being a Coppola project.
I'm not sure how many people at this point even remember Captain EO existed.
Why is that not still in the Disney parks? I can't figure out.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't know.
Michael Jackson, a controversy-free pop culture icon.
Yeah, the king of pop.
The undisputed king of pop.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Man put out some great songs. I think we can all agree on that.
Oh, yeah.
And stop.
Undeniable.
Yeah. All right. So, the Lucy has been taken out now. And
Dracula's pissed.
Dracula's pissed. He has to. Van Helsing has to tell Mina about it. And he says, and he goes, all right, so now that Harker's back, I do love, he goes, I don't mean to be indelicate about this, but while you were with Dracula, did you ever drink any of his blood?
Yeah. I love it because they basically follow up in a very cute way, and I was reminded of the subtleties of Oliver Stone in Nixon, but they follow up the staking and beheading with knife cutting into like a bloody roast, because basically killing a vampire makes you hungry.
Oh,
so
Van Helsing is devouring the food at this table in here.
Yeah, so he's carving into this thing, and he's like going, and there are people around because they're in a full-on tavern, and he's like, I don't mean to be indelicate, but when you were, the hostage of those vampire whores, essentially, did you drink?
Little judgy Van Helsing, come on.
Yeah. He uses. Oh man.
I call it like I see it.
That's what I ended the show with last time. Is I love the part where he goes. He's doing the list of what he calls him. He goes, and then at one point he goes, "Harlots of hell, ha ha!" He does this weird like, ha ha.
God, I mean, Hopkins, this is the phase of Hopkins' career I love, which is like once he gets his Oscar, he just starts taking, and he openly said this, he goes, I'm just going to do stuff I think is fun. So he does Dracula, he does Zorro, that kind of stuff where he's going like, because you're going like, well, he makes like Hollywood action movies. You're going like, that's weird. He goes, oh, I'm having a good time, man.
And you can tell.
Yeah.
He's chewing it up.
It's the same energy. He clearly loved playing Zorro too. He likes being in these sort of grand classic adventure things. Which is great. But
there's a reason he played Odin in 3 Thor movies.
Yes, and you go like, why is he in a Transformers movie? And you're like, I think he thought it'd be fun to be in a Transformers movie. He spends the whole movie talking to a clock transformer. Who could forget?
I want to move past that.
But once again, he's totally locked in. He's like, you listen to me, living robot clock. Here is the thing,
Which he kills it because he is who he is.
He can't not. And so I do love I do love guys like him who don't see the like, yeah, I'll go do King Lear and then I'll do Transformers 5. Like it's all just the work.
Combine the two and you get the Russell Crowe Noah movie.
Oh my God. What a fucking crazy movie that is. And he is in that, yeah.
Yeah, he plays Methuselah.
That's right. I have a feeling that you're a fan of that movie, Gorgone.
Oh, it's the best kind of silly biblical nonsense that I can latch on to.
Yeah. Probably the end of Darren Aronofsky's career, but yeah, I agree. Tough to come back from Noah. All right. So he's telling you that I do like the way Keanu is like he's at first offended, he's almost offended, then he has to think about it, and then he's like, no. But I love he's like, well, wait a minute. No, I didn't.
Yeah. And he's like, good.
We did a lot of stuff. Not that though.
We did some butt stuff.
Yeah.
But no, okay.
No.
He would do anything for love, but he wouldn't do that.
He would not do that.
They drank from me, but I said, no.
And I love the fact that Mina's sitting there the whole time just like going, Jesus, man, I just danced with a guy around some candles.
Well, she did more than that. Come on. She petted a wolf with the man.
Okay.
I mean, that, as far as I'm concerned, that's a bigger betrayal than sex.
And in Victorian times, that was basically a handy.
You pet a man's wolf and you've crossed the line.
Yeah. Do you want to come over and pet my wolf?
It's so tame.
Yeah, look at
you have such a tame wolf.
We didn't really talk about that scene, but she really pets that wolf. They're like into the fur and stuff.
Oh no, they
it's
do.
It's quite erotic.
It is. It absolutely is.
It is.
I didn't bring it up for no reason.
No, it really is. Yeah. All right. So then he's like, all right, we get a scene I love once again in all these movies where he's talking to everybody. He's like, all right, here's how it's gonna go down. All right. We're going to take this son of a bitch out. No bullets. That's bullshit. That's not going to do anything. Keep those guns if you want, but forget it. That's worthless. He goes, here's what we're doing. And I like, he goes, Quincy, forget the gun. Use that Bowie knife of yours. And I like Quincy going, well, I wasn't counting on getting in that close, but
it's a good like comedy line. Yeah. There are little glimpses of like
Billy Campbell shit to do. He's good, man. He's a good actor.
Yep. I wasn't planning on getting that close, but okie doke.
Yeah, man. I guess it was. I think about like, how did he not turn into a big leading man? But I remember The Rocketeer was not successful in its.
No, it wasn't huge, but that guy is so likable.
He's just like constructed to be a leading man. He's got the charm, the looks. And also, we're talking about like he has had an objectively successful career, but it's mostly been TV and stuff like that. But good actor. Right. Always like that guy. So he goes, no bullets. Use the knife. And Seward, take Mina to your asylum where she'll be safe. That we're gonna keep her there because we know that's what he wants. So we're gonna do that. And the whole thing is we're going over to Carfax Abbey, and we're going to destroy all of the dirt in the coffins, so he's got nowhere to go.
Well, and Jonathan turns him on to the fact that he's bought multiple properties across the city. Yeah. So we're going to go to all of them and burn that shit to the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just love a gearing up for battle kind of montage sequence here. So she takes so Seward does take her to the asylum. And Renfield's like, I need to speak to you. And by this point is where he's almost crucified in the straitjacket. Like, he's not wrapped around himself. He's tied to the two sides of the room.
Yeah.
The weird, like, long, excessively long Jack in the Box. I mean, they're definitely getting some Edward Scissorhands energy right now.
Sure. I mean, in some ways, I don't know that the Burton version of this would look that much different.
Yeah. Especially the asylum stuff.
Yeah, except Johnny Depp would be Dracula. That'd be the biggest difference.
Oh, boy. I mean, years later, we would see Dark Shadows, and...
we'll get there on this show, man. I'm a defender. I don't think it's that bad.
The movie?
Yeah. I think it's fine.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's great, but I enjoy it.
Sure.
I love the show.
I will respectfully stay out of this conversation.
Because that's an episode for another day. I'm not vehemently defending it, but I enjoy it. All right. So yeah. And this is where we get the interesting Renfield thing, where he's like, man, he wants you, and I would just feel terrible if anything happened to you. Like, Renfield is more complicated than he is in a lot of the versions. He's often made to just be a nut
This
job.
is in the book.
It is in the book, but they often
he has moments of lucidity where he's like, look, but there's also a big thing in the book where, just like people loved Lucy because of her free-spiritedness, they all love Lucy. And Ricky does.
Yeah.
Fred and Ethel, everyone loves Lucy. But in the book, also people that meet Mina.
But he wouldn't let her be in the damn show. That's the only problem.
Yeah. Mina becomes when they all meet her, she's just like the best woman in the world. Yeah. Everyone just thinks that she's amazing, including Van Helsing and everybody else. And the people who lost Lucy, the suitors who'd never met Mina really or barely knew her, suddenly are like, we will die for you, Mina, because we are going to protect you. You are so great. And in the books, Renfield has moments of clarity where he's like he wants you to be his bride, but please do me a favor. Get far away.
Yes.
Protect yourself. I don't want you to end up with that. And she actually feels very tender towards him. And you got Seward going, Mina, be careful, because he turns on a dime and he might jump at you. And
guy.
She goes, no, I trust him and he's nothing but kind to me. Yeah, it's good stuff.
It is good stuff. And I like this take on Renfield better than, once again, I think in a lot of, and you're right, it is true to the book, but that's often sort of skipped over. Like,
because they're not going to waste the time on it.
I mean, he's like, the way he dies in the 31 movie is because he's mad at Dracula for not turning him into a vampire, not because he suddenly sees ill in what he's doing. It's more just like, when am I going to get mine, baby?
Mm-hmm. Well, he does do that here, too. I mean, he does do the thing, but there's, you promised me immortality.
There's no levels to this, to that performance. To this, there is, and unfortunately, the boring but huge possibilities of a Klaus Kinski Renfield is still one of the biggest missed opportunities to cast one of Hollywood's most psychotic actors.
And then have him play a somnambulic. Renfield.
We made up for it though with his killer Dracula performance. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But yeah, I still go back to that. Like, if you want the artsy, if you're down for the artsy version of Dracula, Nosferatu the Vampire from Werner Herzog is. Ugh.
I don't think you're gonna need to convince anybody on that, because it is a classic of its own right. It is
a beautiful and disturbing movie.
Yeah.
I like much of Herzog's work. So yes, you got to get out of here because Dracula's coming for you. And then meanwhile, just give me so much of these guys kicking open coffins, burning shit down.
I love this.
They are scorching the earth, man. Leave him nowhere to run to.
Yeah, that's the deal.
Love it.
That's how you beat a Dracula, is you leave him nowhere to run and then you expose him. Usually it's by a very rippable curtain that you can pull aside, but this works too.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's how you beat a Dracula. If you see a Dracula in the wild, this is how you beat him.
Oh, dear God, it's a Dracula.
One of my favorite things is just calling all vampires Dracula.
That always makes me laugh.
And I always think of Tracy Jordan.
Yeah. You gotta look out for the Draculas. Yeah, no, you do. It is a lot easier in Hammer. Here, they really have to go through a process. But I do love, the guys kicking open the things, other guys are burning stuff, and then Van Helsing with the holy water saying the prayers, and Hopkins is saying prayers badass.
Of course.
Which I love. Yeah, it's one of the things I do like is, like, as a non-religious person, watching these vampire movies, I'm like, hell yeah!
Well, there's always going to be, especially with the right actor, a gravitas to, like, the gothic chant of, like, the old, like, King James version of the Bible.
Yeah, the Latin readings of stuff. It's the same thing I love on the, it's like I love the TV show Evil, which we've talked about, which is all, like, Catholic stuff where I'm going like, I don't believe any of this shit, but for the drama of this show, hell yeah, the Lord,
Yeah, invoking God and our Savior, and using their power to defeat the darkness.
It's just that as the representational force of good in like a horror thing. I can get on board for. Don't ask me to actually sign up or give money to anything, though, because that ain't gonna happen.
I was going to. I will stop.
Yeah. God always
appreciate it.
I was very close to and decided I would not.
For as powerful as God is, he always needs a handout, it seems like. He's always strapped for cash.
God
is
probably pretty good with the money. I don't think he needs our money.
I've made some poor investments.
If you loved me, you'd pony up.
Come on, you got a little more. I saw 50 in there. All right. So yeah, they're doing that, and then oh boy, you gotta love it, Brendan. Dracula in mist form coming to Renfield.
They
never do Dracula in mist form. This is the most rare. We frequently see him turn into a bat, but we almost never see him turn into mist and stuff.
And this movie, once again, they
really
do a very good job, but they went old school by having it be animated.
But I think
mist.
Once again, that not only in the way they did it, but him turning into mist fits the aesthetics of this movie. Like, that feels very of this Dracula.
But I'm very happy to see that this movie has him in various animal forms, has him commanding animals. You know what's even rarer than Mist? This movie has him controlling the weather.
Yes.
That is even rarer. And I was so happy to see that, too.
I'm trying to think.
Where he goes, wind!
So cool. Is this the first movie we've seen with a fully powered Dracula? I think this is the first time we've seen him with the entire power set.
All the stuff.
I think this is the only version I can think of.
Walking in daylight,
where he's
changing into commanding animals.
We've seen people sort of pick and choose. This one goes, we're going to do all the Dracula stuff. He's going to use all the powers in this, and I love it.
Me too.
I mean, I've also definitely seen stuff that like goes farther to like full on supervillain Dracula, some of the Marvel stuff.
People have powered him up more, but I'm just talking about just the variety of powers.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I really love this movie is for that, because you do get to see and also because it adds to this thing where it's like, oh no, if you think you can stop him when he's doing that, he's got a whole other thing he can do.
Yeah.
It makes him a bigger threat.
Oh, again, I want to stress, he is the king of the vampires.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He's number one.
Number one on that call sheet.
He's number one on the call sheet.
Personal favorite in terms of like Dracula power scales is still probably the most latest the Castlevania animated series.
Oh, sure.
That Dracula is right about where I want Dracula to be.
That goes overboard.
I like that Dracula of like summoning demons from the sky, Dracula.
Yet another potential patron program we have been thinking about is watching that show with us.
I've enjoyed.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I
just have to put myself in that overwrought. I never played the games, but I have to put myself in that overwrought anime kind of thing where it's going to be ridiculous.
I'm famously,
but it's beautifully animated.
I'm famously not an anime fan, but I do enjoy that because I think if you're a big classic monster nerd, it's really hard to avoid that show. Like it just it indulges in such crazy mythology building with the monsters we love.
Yeah.
So I do really in a similar way to Tomb of Dracula. They're different aesthetically and stylistically, but in that, like, we're gonna really take the mythos and expand it out. That I enjoy. So anyway, back to this. Yeah, I like the way he kills Renfield by just slamming him into the bars of the thing. Pretty effective. Very cool.
Yeah. Actually, in the books, I thought they would, for the movie, I thought they would go closer to the books just because visually it's the 1990s and they're already being so gory. In the books, he basically like snaps him in half, folds him up like an accordion. It's supposed to be like his body is
I can't remember what
twisted
version.
all up. This is him just wrestling. This is like pro wrestling, throwing him into the bars.
It's not gory, but I do like the brutality.
That had to hurt.
I do like the brutality of it, even if it's not gory.
Yeah.
It's so just like he's just fucking beating this guy to death against iron bars. That is not pleasant, man.
No, it's brutal.
Yeah. We did see one where they did the guy being broken in half in silhouette, I think, and I can't remember what version that was, but I feel like we did see one where Renfield got snapped in half, and you just see it in the shadows on the wall. And I feel like it's one of the 70s ones, and I can't remember.
I think so too.
Is it Langella? Maybe
it might be Langella.
Another one I have a soft spot for. I do enjoy that, and you can go back and listen to that episode.
I'd say if you're talking Dracula adaptations, if you're talking Bram Stoker's Dracula, and they are wild swings, but really there's really 4 or 5 you can point to as being of a quality enough, and those would be like 30.
Yeah.
1931. And then I would say Dracula, aka Horror of Dracula from Hammer.
The first Hammer Dracula, yeah.
Then Langella, then this. I mean, it's like these are the high points as far as adapting that story. Not necessarily the best Dracula movies.
No, because I would put
the character goes on and on and on.
And I would put Nosferatu the Vampire in there, but that is really its own thing.
Yeah, it is. It's a.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah, but if you're talking about just adapting the story, I would agree. Those are the 4 that are really worth your time. Everything else falls into like longer TV movies that have their moments, or Dan Curtis's Dracula, which is awful, or the Jess Franco version, which is also just not watchable.
Yeah.
There's just that. So because we've talked about that. There are some that people rave about on IMDb, going, "Oh, it's so faithful." And you go like, "Yeah, but it's boring. There's no style or quality acting in it. Yes, they're doing the book, but who could care? Like." That can't
there
faithfulness
has to be
to source
a
material. Yeah, as you talk about, is something you look for, Brendan. But that can't be it. You can't get an A for just doing the events of the book.
Yeah, no, it's true.
So at a certain point, you start becoming just like a stage play or a one-man show.
Well, a lot of them.
Yeah, they actually said all the lines, but at what cost?
Yeah, because you do sit. It does feel like there are some where they go, and we put in this. What's the one that has the Mr. Whoever Swales, right?
Mr. Swales, the old man at the
there's one
graveyard.
of them that includes that, and you go, "That's great that they included it," but objectively, it should be taken out because it doesn't add anything to the plot. It's a little bit like the Tom Bombadil Tolkien people who want that, and you go like, "I get that you love that, and it's great in the book. How would that aid the movie? Like that's objectively a good cut if you're writing a film." So you do still need to acknowledge that it is a film. So they're destroying that. This is where Dracula comes to Mina, and we get into the psychosexual. He's on top of her in the bed.
Yeah. He is.
Yes, he is.
And like she is having dream sex with ghost vampire while he is also in the room, just not actually touching her.
This is this is where we get the thing where it's like he reveals, "I am Prince Vlad, but I am also the vampire everyone is looking for."
Yeah,
Mhm.
I am Dracula. And she's like, "Oh fuck!
And he's like,
You tortured my husband, and you killed my best friend."
but also some part of me inside still loves you, which is that's getting into that sort of duality of I am two people in the same body.
And
which is
Ryder plays this scene really well, like
Yeah.
vacillating back and forth between like, oh, I love you, but oh, you're a monster, but oh, I love Jonathan,
really
but
good.
oh, you tortured him, but also you're so damn sexy, Dracula.
And then she basically makes the choice, and he's like going, "No, I know it sounds like you want to be like me, but it's a horrible existence." And she's like going,
well, Oldman goes, I mean, this Dracula goes, I love how Oldman plays this. This Dracula goes so far, he does the thing we've seen Lee do and stuff like that, where he uses his finger to cut his own chest open.
Yep.
And
yeah,
but
here
he stops. He's already in process of doing it. He's like, no, I can't. Like he has the impulse to go, yeah. And then he's like, wait, no, I can't curse you the way I am cursed.
It's definitely the sex metaphor. Yeah. The whole thing of like taking virginity essentially is like, I want to because I'm a guy. I'm totally ready, but you know what?
Yeah.
I can't do this to you.
This speaks to an interesting moment of sympathy from Dracula, or an interesting moment of humanity where he's like, I do want to be with you, but fuck, that would be awful. If I love you, I can't do this to you.
Yeah.
And that I like making him, he's still evil, he's still the bad guy, but he is complicated. He is not one note. And those are the Draculas I like the most. Are the guys who still do have some thoughts about what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I mean, if you're going to add the romance element to the story, which is not there in the book, this is probably the best you can get there. I mean, I think they did a good job.
I think I stand by. I think this is probably as good an adaptation as we'll see. And maybe someone will prove me wrong, but it does feel like this is probably as close to the literary text as somebody is going to get in like a big budget movie.
Unless they decide to keep a lot of the good lessons from this and drop the romance stuff and make it more about supervillain Dracula, which is in the book.
And they might. But, I know. I mean, unfortunately, Universal just canceled that Karen Kusama version where she was talking about kind of doing a Dracula movie without much Dracula in it, closer to the book.
Oh, I didn't know it had been canceled.
Yeah, they shut that down at Universal, unfortunately. And I like that idea where she goes. Her approach to doing it more like the book was to basically put Dracula in the shadows the whole movie and keep him very limited screen time. It's more about people reacting to him. And I thought, that's an interesting approach. That would be an interesting movie. Well,
because then you start leaning into like first season of True Detective of just like, is this a supernatural? Is this just some rich weirdo from Eastern Europe? Like, what's actually happening here?
Yeah.
By the way, that's what it says on my business card. Rich weirdo from.
Yeah.
Is this actually happening?
Yeah. That would actually be a cool approach. I would love to see a series that did that, where it's played almost more like a detective thing.
That'd be good too. That's a good take. But I mean, this take is about the romance, and it works very well.
I find it
really
funny making it about Dracula as the character too. Like,
even though it's an iconic line, it is one that I sit there going, I get why it's effective.
Oh my God, it's the best line in the movie, Brendan. I can't even. Come on.
It doesn't make sense. She of time to be with. No, that's not the line.
Oh, I thought that was it.
No, that line. I mean,
that is the best line in the movie. And I don't know if you saw that in the trivia. Gary Oldman said that was the deciding factor in making the movie. Was he wanted to say that line?
Very nice.
When he read the script, he goes, I want to be in a movie where I say that to somebody. Oh, I thought that was that. Never mind.
No, the line is where she has basically said, you know what? You are a monster, but I want to be with you. And she says, take me away from all of this death.
Sorry. Yes, that's my second favorite
And I'm
line.
like, well, that's a weird thing to say because he's going to kill you. And then you will spend all of eternity killing others.
No, but
that will definitely be taking you away from all of this death.
What? I look at that. No, I look at that as talking about by being undead, I can never die. Take me away from all of this death that is life. I think is what I take that, and I love that line, and I love the way Ryder says, "Take me away from," and the way she says, "From all of this death." Like it's
she does it well.
I really love that line. We've often gone. That's another thing, though, on this podcast, is I often respond to maybe more unnatural lines of dialogue that are kind of more
Well,
flowery
because
written.
taken literally, yes, it doesn't make any damn sense. But taken like emotionally, evocatively, like the death being the pain and suffering that one experiences before reaching the final conclusion, if you remove yourself from that equation by becoming this immortal, blood-sucking
Take it away
thing,
from my death, from you, the man I love's death, will live forever. We are
also,
above death. That's the way I take it to be.
Also saying, take me away from caring about this
yes,
stuff.
Exactly.
I think that's another
she's
thing too.
basically saying, make me a monster too, which is a grim statement. So I'm not.
I love that line, but I agree. I just don't think it's a problem with the line that she isn't thinking through the repercussions of that. Also, she's a pseudo brainwashed 20-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, I think
that's the other thing about this whole sequence here is how much of this is her making this decision and how much of this is her getting high on Dracula.
And another thing too
she's also very horned up.
There's also, you can read it of two ways. The Dracula moment when he goes, no, I can't do this to you. Is that him sincerely saying that? Or is that another where it's like, no, I don't make me do it. You're like,
you don't want none of this, Dewey cock.
It's exactly. You don't want none of this.
I think
shit,
I do kind of want some of that.
Yeah. Oh well, it probably means I won't be able to have sex.
It makes sex better.
I don't know about why I wouldn't want to get addicted. It's not habit forming.
I think I kind of do want some of that.
Throughout the fact that
I would do an entire podcast just about how brilliant Walk Hard is.
We have talked about that. Is one of the funniest movies. I watched it a couple months ago, and it is still one of the fucking funniest movies ever made.
Still don't understand why it's not quoted as much as Anchorman.
I use the phrase "worst case of cut in half" I've ever seen more than I care to admit.
I've been halved.
I often say to my older brother, "The wrong kid died."
Wrong kid died. Raymond J. Barry, man, so funny. That's what your music does, Dewey. It kills people.
Okay, we got to get back on track.
People wonder
we got
why
to get back on Drac.
Oh,
come on, join me. Join me in the love of that. Come on.
Back on Drac is the new Dracula only podcast we'll be doing.
At this point now, Helsing and co. burst in.
Yes.
Oh, I love this. And him in full monster mode when they come in here. And this is one of
the... a missed opportunity in the scene, by the way, is, again, in the book, literally, this is all happening. The whole seduction, drink my blood thing is happening while Jonathan is literally sleeping next to them.
Yes, it is. Yes.
In the same bed. Now, of course, in the movie, they're all just bursting in the room going, "What's this?
What's this?" Yeah, including the narrator from the Batman 66 show. Really weird that he's there, too. It's they pan across all the faces, and then it's just that guy in a recording booth going, "What's this?"
Harry Snapper Organs from Monty Python.
Yes.
What's all this then?
Hey, what's all this then? Yeah, well, I will say, we haven't brought him up, Brendan, but where's our old pal from the 31 movie? Where's Martin?
I miss Martin all the time.
What? Because this would be great if he goes, "That's crazy."
Yeah, it'd be great if he looks to camera like when they bust in and he goes, "They're all crazy," and then he looks at the camera and goes, "But hot."
But so hot. By the way, thank you, Francis Ford Coppola, for giving me more work.
Weirdly, Coppola with okay, Winona is too young and is our lead. We're not going to have her get as naked as Sadie. But framing that whole thing where she's in a diaphanous nightgown, can't have a Dracula movie without one.
No, the Hammer established that.
Where I'm sitting there going, well, that's as good as we're ever going to get. And, oh, I'm sorry. She's so beautiful. She's so beautiful.
Wait, I need the Conan O'Brien, the stamp to put on the screen. Perv.
Yeah, but she is. Yeah. But yes, it is one of those great cuckolding scenes where they all jump, bust in, and she's like, "Oh God, oh I'm so embarrassed," and it's like, "Oh Mina, how could you?" Meanwhile, your boyfriend is just turned into a gigantic bat monster.
Did you see one from on the trivia? They talked about that before each take of this, to get her into character, Francis Ford Coppola shouted "whore" at her.
Yeah, I also
that's upsetting.
Yeah,
I also heard
you're a whore. Action.
In this scene, Gary Oldman felt self-consciously goofy in the bat outfit.
He did.
So he basically said before every shot, Gary Oldman would walk around to each of the actors and whisper something only they could hear.
It's in the
apparently
it's
was
in the documentary.
so revolting or something. It was to get them in the right mindset.
It's you can see it there. They filmed it on set.
Oh, really?
In the documentary on the disc. I highly recommend this. Coppola blindfolded everyone, and he said he told Gary, go up to each of them so they don't know who he's going to come to next. And I like Gary. They have an interview with him. He goes, "Oh, that was a mistake. Because when you tell me to scare the pants off somebody, I'm going to take advantage." He goes, "I had a lot of fun doing that." And so you can't hear in it what he's saying, but yeah, they're all blindfolded and standing in a circle. And he just comes up next to him. It's like, and they're like, "Oh, Jesus!" And it's Billy Campbell who goes, "He said the most disturbing shit I'd ever heard in my." I mean, he goes, "I don't even know how you come up with the stuff he said to me."
Acting.
But yeah, so that was it. Exactly. He got them. He wanted them so legitimately disturbed by what they were saying, because
they wouldn't laugh at the guy in the big foam rubber suit.
Yeah, which does play better on screen, of course, than in person.
Oh, it looks good on screen.
Oh, I love the design of this bat.
Good
creature.
makeup. Yeah, this bat creature.
The makeup across the board in this movie is stunning.
And he does a hiss thing, and then of course he folds back into the shadows when he's escaping and becomes a mass of rats. Come on!
Oh, yeah.
I love any time Dracula turns into a swarm of things. I don't care if it's rats, bats, insects. Give me swarm Dracula.
Well, that's another thing I love in the Oldman interview on there. He goes, "Let's see, I'm a bat. I turn into mist. At one point, I'm just a swarm of rats." Like him just going, "I'm not Dracula. He's a lot of stuff in the movie. I'm an old man."
I guess here's a question of personal preference for folks who have seen a lot of Dracula content.
Oh, yeah.
Which do you prefer? Dracula turning into one really big bat or 100 little bats?
Ooh, that's a good question. And that's tough because I think a lot of it is dependent on the scenario. But I will say I do like when it's done right, because we've seen it done stupidly, but I do like watching him transform from human to a bat is cool.
I do prefer a bat. A swarm of bats looks great.
I like him,
but then I start
swarm of bats.
Well, if he's a swarm, how is that brain being shared amongst all of that stuff?
I like this. I like
cool.
this where he just has he's almost materialized a bunch of rats like a magic trick.
Yeah,
I like that.
So I'm a one bat man, and I think
I'm a one Batman too. But like I said, I do like him being able to summon an army of bats. That is
cool.
Yes,
cool because he is their Lord and Master. He has command over all the
and
mean
I know
things
that's
of
gonna
the earth,
fucking,
as they say.
That's gonna bring Gorgone to the goddamn Dracula Untold.
I was gonna mention Morbius, but yeah, either way.
Oh, Morbius too.
Morbius,
that's actually some of the cooler stuff in Morbius.
He doesn't.
The bat Kamehameha wave he does in that movie.
Yeah. Oh, so Morbius. Dumb. Hey, it's Morbin time, you guys.
It is Morbin time. So Dracula morbs off from here.
He sure does. He sure does. So yeah, he's out of here. Let's see here.
But he has one last little stronghold that he can
I didn't mention
into.
My favorite thing is Keanu Reeves shooting with a gun. It doesn't do anything once again, but just Keanu Reeves shoots a bat monster with a pistol in this movie, and I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
That is very cool. All right. So,
this is also the bit where Dracula makes the cross explode into fire, right?
Yeah. I like it.
I think it's just like the Vampire Bride melting the cross. I'm like, yeah.
See, I'll accept Dracula making a cross explode over the Vampire Bride any day of the
Yes,
week.
exactly, because he's that powerful. But even so, I'm like, no, it should affect him. But yes, I guess you have to be the Pope, I guess, to have that much faith to actually affect him like that.
Well, you got to be someone who's not Van Helsing, who treats it like a science, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And it works on a much more recent vampire like Lucy than it would on this guy.
Yeah, of course.
Like I said, we talked about this last week. We were playing by Fright Night rules. Peter Vincent can't use that cross against Jerry in that movie.
No.
Because that is a perfect vampire movie.
The bit from The Mummy where the guy's just going through all the different charms to see what works.
Yeah,
right.
We're almost there too. Well, we're not almost there. That's the end of the season.
There.
Yeah, but that is much like this one. That is one I long for because I love that movie.
I do too.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think there's any doubt it's the best Mummy movie.
Because this is the bit of the film where we begin the Dracula hunt, right? Like they're chasing him at this point.
Because now they go, he's going to run back to his castle. We're going to, the third act of this is great because it's the final act of the book too, which is awesome. Using Mina as a Dracula detector because she's mentally linked to him. So cool. I also like in this movie the whole, like that you're just trying to keep her from turning long enough to find him, and so you've got Van Helsing keeping the vampire and her at bay, basically, which is great. All the stuff with Hopkins and Ryder here, and then the fact that this is where we get our big action moments. The battle on the pass, I love.
Give me a stagecoach chase any day of the week.
Yeah, I know. That's just the Western nerd in me too that still loves just guys riding on horses and shooting guns at guys on stagecoaches and leaping across.
The number of Dracula's men.
They do to give it
the movie, so you could have Quincy picking them off, and I'm all about that.
Yeah,
Quincy
it's very
does,
exciting.
Get in one of the killing strokes, which is great because he's going to die, but allowing him to also be a cowboy badass.
The fact
on
that he's already fatally stabbed when he gets that finishing stroke in too is even better, man. I am sorry. I don't, like I said, Quincy is my guy in this movie. He just rules.
Well, he's the only Merkin.
And he gets that Merkin. From Hell's Heart, I stab at the moment that you always want out of an action star.
He is the pure action hero. Everybody else sort of rises to the occasion. He arrives in the movie already the action hero.
Well, I
don't know if Seward does shit in this final sequence, but
he is here for moral support.
And Arthur and Quincy all were in like a regiment together. They fought and they've adventured
I'm
together.
Sorry, only Quincy is walking around with that Bowie knife and just ready. He's ready for business all the time in this.
All the time.
Yeah, it's business time. They're pursuing Dracula to his castle, and you also get all this stuff where it's like, well, if we take the train, we can beat him by boat because he has to go around here. You get the logistics of that. Oh wait, but he stopped at this thing, which means he's now ahead of us. But if we get on horseback and take the pass, maybe we can meet him. I like all that stuff too. That strategizing is very cool.
Now the big Mina and Van Helsing scene, which is, again, as I say, taking what's in the books and turning the dial up, because here in the book, she is under his sway and has moments where she is sort of lured by the siren song of the other vampire brides. But here it's full on, I'll seduce the old man thing. Mm-hmm. And this is the old man thing, which is another Marvel comic. And here they go
old
farther.
Man thing. I'll tell you, that is some
go
heartbreaking
farther by
stuff.
having Van Helsing not only get macked on, but he's like, I am this close to giving you all the Van Helsing you want.
You've got to want. I mean, is there an aspect of mind control to this? Because I mean, I do think Van Helsing is still just a man who is potentially, but I don't think he would be.
She
that
says
horny.
Lucy had a crush on you. She used to say, and she's like, I feel the same way. There's just something about you, old man. Mm-hmm. I want some of that. And she's doing the whole seduction routine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. But
I've always read that bit is always like a good cop drama, how there's a little bit of criminal in a good cop.
Yeah, sure.
And like with the good monster hunter, there's a little bit of the monster in there. And there's always that what if of just like, oh, I could give myself over to the darkness.
He indulges.
But you forget, he's a married man. He has a wife back in Amsterdam, where the fuck he lives.
That
Vienna.
is really not dealt with in this.
I know. And it's not dealt with.
Is it?
in the book, it is mentioned like maybe once.
I don't think they even mention it.
He has a loyal wife waiting for him. But yeah, anyway, because
I will say this Van Helsing does not seem like a married man because he seems zeroed in on hunting monsters.
What you're saying is this Van Helsing is DTF. I get it.
At least for a second, there is the moment he indulges and then is able to break off from it. Like, and that also makes
he's
him
that
awesome.
strong.
Yeah,
he's that strong.
Like,
and he turns right back around and kills himself 3 vampire brides.
Oh boy, does he ever! And that may be my favorite scene in the movie because it's just badassery.
Hopkins with the torch, and he makes the circle of fire. Oh,
and he's using the kukri knife, which traditionally is Jonathan's knife at the end of the book, but the kukri blade, and that's what he's whacking those heads off with. And then he's just holding them in his hands, and he's got blood all over his face. Tosses the heads into the river from the bridge and goes, Dracula! Again, I could watch that all day long.
Well, this is like comic book shit where it's just like, let's do this, you know? And it's like, it's
protected
on.
Mina inside the circle. He's burned her forehead with the host.
Oh, love that. Love that, too. Love all that shit.
Meanwhile, our gentry have chased Dracula to his front gates.
Yep. And that's where we get the big shootout and stuff on the road.
And it's the race against the sun, too. They're like, oh, shit, man, the sun's going down.
Well, I was going to say, this is
if the sun goes down and they don't catch Dracula, he's going to burst out of that box and fuck their shit up.
And he does. Oh, God, when he bursts out of it, it is so cool.
And then when he bursts out and he's wearing something that looks like something out of the Kabuki theater, I'm like, yeah, no.
Oh, those are sleep jammies.
Yeah.
I have golden Chinese pajamas that he pops up out of the crate wearing.
This man has crossed oceans of time. Who knows where he's been, what he's collected while he was there. I love it.
We don't know how he made his money. He could have been a waiter at the Golden Dragon. We don't know. Oh.
Give me that.
Dracula's Chinese Restaurant is my new sitcom from NBC.
Oh no!
Coming to a streaming service near you.
Boy, you thought being a vampire was hard. Try running a restaurant. Oh boy!
We're out of the General Tso's chicken.
Oh,
I promised this would never happen.
Come enjoy Dracula's dumplings.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
No, I meant the food.
Yeah.
And then there's a big studio laugh because someone just goosed him. It's hilarious.
I'm just trying to think. Okay, I was trying to think. Like, it's James Hong who's the experienced Chinese chef who's always arguing with him. And by the way, I am imagining it's Gary Oldman Dracula.
Oh, of course, yeah.
By the way, James Hong is still with us, right?
He is still with us, man. He was just so fucking good in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
He's amazing. He lived well.
Oh, I love James Hong, and just
I
always
love him too.
There's nothing he doesn't improve. Even if he's in something bad, he'll be great in it.
He's been in so many bad things, and every time it's like, thank you, James Hong.
Guy's
a pro. 5 minutes of greatness.
He's just a pro, always. He's
got nearly 500 credits on IMDb.
I know.
He's racing Trejo.
Racing Trejo is my streaming show that's coming to.
That is you and
Peacock.
Danny Trejo buying a race car together. Actually, I would watch the hell out of that. That'd be so entertaining. Just the idea of seeing you and Trejo on a poster together, and you're like back to back with the arms crossed.
Do you have to go so fast, Danny?
It's too fast.
Too fast, Danny.
I always knew this was a mistake, and his super grizzle. He's all muscly with his tattoos, and you're going like, I'm sorry, can we get this racing suit in Elijah size?
It's gonna be a laugh riot.
It's a little tight in the middle.
I don't know why Brendan suddenly became a New York Jew, but okay.
Well, I think you cut me just a little bit. You'll see that New York Jew right underneath there.
I think that's a reason Brendan and I are good friends. Is I think both of us at our cores are old New York Jewish men.
Yeah,
really.
Absolutely. Because another thing is we love pranking people with sandwiches that have too much tuna on them.
How about that sandwich there? A lot of tuna on it.
Yeah. When you say that's too much tuna. When you say it's too much.
I think my favorite is just when they bring it out, and there's one where Melanius goes, "Well, there it is."
For those who don't know, but we are referencing a thing.
Yeah,
we are referencing a thing.
And if you
if you
haven't seen
type
Oh
in
Hello,
Too Much Tuna.
and if you haven't seen Oh Hello on Broadway on Netflix, it is
that's
pure
brilliant.
delight. It is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. All right, so yeah, Dracula. Okay, we're at the castle now. We're finally at the castle, which is where Quincy is fatally stabbed, but still kicking ass.
Well, he goes down, but that's a psych out. He goes down, and we don't pay attention to him because too much stuff is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan is the guy, of course, that has hopped up on the carriage, he's about to open the crate, and then the crate bursts open. Dracula pops up like a jack-in-the-box in his golden jammies, and Jonathan does get that throat slash in. Voosh!
Oh, that is sweet. That is so like, especially in this movie where we're at the end of this thing. We've seen Dracula causing all this trouble. When we see that throat cut open, you're like, oh yeah, that is satisfying.
This is very close to the book, but obviously they have to tack on this whole ending. But so basically, Jonathan gets the slash in. That's not going to do it. He falls off anyway because Dracula has sprung up.
Then this is what we've been waiting for. We often talk about Dracula's too easily defeated. The fact that like everybody gets a shot in on him to end him here is what we've waited for, I think, in these Dracula movies.
Quincy pops up and gives him the
Bowie knife to the heart.
The Bowie knife to the heart, which is badass. And that
for the rest of this fight, we just have this giant knife sticking out of Dracula.
And it will be I will get to where once we're in the church and Mina drives it all the way through and out the other side of him. Because it's that big a fucking knife. It's bordering on sword, let's be honest.
Dracula does fall at this point, and they're all like, we can finish it. And in fact, you've got Van Helsing go, finish it, and then finish him, and then Mina pulls one of the rifles up and is like, back off, my man, and they're all like, what? And then uncharacteristically, you do have Jonathan saying, no, let her finish this. This is between the two of them.
He trusts his wife, man. He's going, you know what? She's got something going here. I'm gonna let her finish this out. I have this kind of trust in the lady I love that I'm going to let her deal with this.
And she drags Drac back into the castle, into the whatever the big throne room is where the mosaic of her previous life is, and the great Renaissance dome painting above them, which is hilarious, but it's well done. It's really, and it is in keeping with the time period that castle would have been made, but Dracula in his original armor floating through the clouds holding the hand of his dead princess. It's kind of great. But anyway, so they go in, they have their really on the nose biblical talk, and she does finish it. It's literally, they know not what they do, and it is finished, and into thy hands I commend my spirit. It's basically all of the Jesus quotes, but it's Dracula, and you're like,
and the
are we positing him as a holy figure now?
The light reverts him back to being young and beautiful as he's stabbed here, right?
Sure. Yeah, and basically she's like,
the cross that he stabbed earlier heals itself.
Yeah, goodbye, my love, and she shoves the thing all the way through him.
But then the best beat in the movie, like I love this little tacked on thing at the end where
he's passed, and then she pulls it out again, if you know what I mean. Whacks his head off.
Well, I love that because we get this and the music has soared already, and he's gone, and the light has restored him, and then it's just like beat, and head comes off, and the movie ends. Love it.
Well, head comes off, and then we drift on that mosaic of the two of them, and then we fade.
That's our last image. Yeah,
we don't get that epilogue of the happy family.
Well, movies don't really have
the Dracula fighters. It's a year later, a couple years later. The kid's been born. Van Helsing's like, "You are a wonderful family. Bye bye." I think that's the line from the book.
Goodbye, everybody.
You are
bye, Dr.
Van Helsing.
Van Helsing.
Bye, Dr. Van Helsing.
I know what it is. It's a werewolf. Here, take a silver bullet.
Oh my God, I don't think they've ever done that in all the trios of horrors. Like Dr. Nick, Vampire Hunter would be great.
It would be.
Has Dr. Nick stayed dead since the movie?
Where he's
I
completely...
think he has come back now.
Okay.
I think
he's too funny. He can't get rid of Dr.
He stayed dead
Nick.
for a good several seasons, but I'm pretty sure he's back in the universe.
1-800-DOCTORB.
Yeah.
The B is for bargain.
One of my favorites is
1-800-DOCTORB.
one of my favorites is inflammable means flammable.
What kind of country is this?
We have so many solutions for those patients dangerously underweight like yourself. The whipped group, the congealed group, and the chocotastic.
All right, that's what this podcast just evolved into.
Yeah,
we have ended the film.
We have ended the film. All I was going to say is
17 hours of continuous talk.
Brendan, are you bummed that they do not include the epilogue?
I didn't expect it, and no one has ever done it.
Well,
no one's ever done it.
Because movies don't really have epilogues. It's kind of... I remember that last Harry Potter movie, people were like, oh, this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Not just because everybody looked weird, but it is just kind of like, it's not a movie thing to do.
Yeah, but I like it.
You like the happy ending.
I like happy endings, and I do like the naming of the child. Quincy.
I do like that.
That's great.
I like that beat, but this kind of leaves it on a note of like Dracula's finished. We don't really know what is next for our heroes.
Well, Mina goes off to join the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yes,
Jonathan
that's right. I forgot
and Mina
have some marriage counseling to attend to because come on.
For a while, she left me for a vampire. Yeah. Explain that, Mina.
But they do.
She won't drink my blood, but she totally lapped his up.
And I keep saying, come on, just take a taste.
One of the reasons the epilogue is unnecessary in this movie is because they change how Dracula dies, I think. Because it's Mina who gets the kill, and the focus of the movie is on their relationship.
Yeah.
If it ends with her killing him, then cutting to her in a happy, stable relationship with a husband and kid feels like a weird ending to an otherwise like beat of melancholy that this movie tries to end on.
There is a bittersweet nature to the end of this Dracula. Like we talked about, he does need to be stopped, but he is not pure evil. There's still some good in
that's not the bittersweet thing. I that's the interesting. I agree it's bittersweet, but you going it's bittersweet because he had some good in him. I see it more being bittersweet because Mina will have a happy life with a loving husband, but she is still of two worlds, two lives, so she will always remember her hot past boyfriend. So she's settling for Jonathan.
That's still what I'm talking about, though. Is like it's not enough to just go monster destroyed. There's still a man there that some part of her loves, and he does kind of get a happy ending because he dies, but he's kind of redeemed in the end. You know, he's
redeemed in the very, and I'll say this as someone who was brought up Christian, but he's redeemed in that very get out of jail free Catholic way where it's like, I've done horrible things. I've lived for 500 years. I have killed untold numbers of people. But at the very end, I went, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And boom, everything's A-okay.
I fought it as long as I could.
Quick apology at the end to God, and he's like, you know what? All's forgiven.
Well, it's exactly what happens with Anakin Skywalker at the end of Return of the Jedi, right? It's just like, okay, so this one good deed means I get to be a Force ghost, right?
It is always the thing when they talk about, and then when Anakin is redeemed, you go like, well, I don't know about that. I don't go so far as say he's fully redeemed. He ends up making the right decision, but you're going like,
But there was all that child murder we don't talk about.
Yeah, and then, you know...
you mean the younglings?
There's the child murder. There's also the 20 years of story we're still just filling in where I'm sure he killed untold thousands.
Sure, yeah.
Let's wrap it up, guys.
Yeah. Well, that's the end of Bram Stoker's Dracula. I think we're all in agreement about whether or not people should watch this.
Oh, of course, people should watch this.
This is a must-watch. I
can't imagine anyone listening to this podcast hasn't actually.
No, and also I was looking at this. This movie cost $40 million and pulled in 215 worldwide. So pretty big hit.
Shocked they didn't make a sequel.
I mean, the return of Dracula. I mean, they kind of do, right? Because this starts the Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. This kind of starts like, oh, the lesson here is we're going to do the prestige monster movies now.
Well, I'll say that it's a pretty good parallel for comic nerds of the All-Star line. You start amazingly strong.
Yeah.
You start with Bram Stoker's Dracula, and then the second one out of the gate kills the momentum.
Well, no, I still
because Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is the All-Star Batman and Robin of this. So
it's not that bad. It's bad. It's got problems, but it's not nearly as bad as that.
No, it's true. It's not as bad
but
as
you
that.
Do
It
get,
is
you do
sad
get, you
thing
do get
that
one
it
more,
did kill.
lest we forget Wolf, which is not based on anything, but is made by the same studio, is also big-name filmmaker, actors, and prestige serious take on one of the Universal monsters, basically.
Wouldn't put it in the same category, but with werewolves in general, you don't have a classic source to draw
You
from.
don't,
anyway.
but I do put in that because it's made in the same sort of sequence of movies by the same studio. I highly recommend.
I would assume they would have tried to make another period piece if they kept going. I mean,
I was going to say, why I'm shocked we didn't get an H.G. Wells's The Invisible Man, right?
Yeah, that does feel like one we would get, but we didn't. I do want to point people towards, as I often do, the great Patrick H. Willems, who's a film commentator on YouTube, who made a video looking at Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and Wolf as a sequence of movies made by this studio in an attempt to be like, we're the Oscar bait monster movies of the 90s. We are the prestige. Yeah, these are prestige monster movies, and we will get to those. We are not going to watch them in a sequence because there's going to be some bullshit in between these. That's pretty bad.
There's going to be some bullshit.
In fact, next week on the show, we are watching a Frankenstein movie. Actually, we are watching Frankenstein, simply titled Frankenstein, from 1992, starring Patrick Bergin and Randy Quaid as the monster.
And you actually didn't even need to tell them that. They already know.
This is iconic.
We are watching one of the greatest, so I'm very much looking
Brendan,
forward.
I may have seen this when it came out, or like on HBO.
I don't think I have. I don't think I have.
No,
I think I remember
that's the
seeing...
thing where it's one of those where I go like, I may have watched it on cable in the 90s.
I may have seen
but I don't have
shots of it in a Fangoria magazine or
don't
Starlog
have
or
much
something,
memory
but I
of
don't.
it. I do not have much memory of it, but boy, oh boy. And it's another one we're looking at the thing. It's the legend has been told for generations.
Finally, we're doing it.
The real story is the most horrifying of all. This is like maybe the fourth or fifth one we've seen that's supposedly, this is it, the true version. I mean, we
it's
literally
about time.
We literally saw the one that was called Frankenstein, the True Story.
Which was pretty much not.
Oh, and it was so boring. That one we hated.
Yeah.
Because, well, number one, I always like this idea, like, are they fooling people into thinking this was a real thing that happened? That seems to be a tactic of some things where it's like, you've seen the fictional version. Now see the true story of Dr. Frankenstein. And that was
I've seen the true version. It started Aaron Eckhart, and it was great.
Oh, Gorgone, you want to come on and do that one with us when we get to it?
Yes,
Frankenstein?
100%.
Yeah.
That stupid movie.
Post-apocalyptic Frankenstein with
Post-apocalyptic Frankenstein fighting gargoyles. That's what I want.
With abs, baby. Abs for days. Eckhart got crazy jacked for that. And it's one of those things where I'm going like, oh, you didn't have to put in that kind of work for this piece of shit, Eckhart. Eckhart is, we'll talk about that, but Eckhart's a weird actor who has been in some great movies and then some truly god-awful films.
He has had a weird career.
Really has vacillated between those two, and he's a great actor. But like the fact that like you can be in The Dark Knight and then I, Frankenstein in not that long a period of time is a wild career. Oscar nominations and Razzie nominations probably in the same year sometimes for him. So Gorgone, thank you for spending 2 episodes doing this with us.
Thank you so much for putting up with my love and hate and criticism of this film.
And of course,
we'll say this though, Mike. This was perhaps of the many podcasts we've done together. These 2 episodes have been probably the most we've ever agreed.
That's true. I think I am more on the Brendan side than I am the John side of this film.
Well,
but we all mutually appreciate this movie.
Yes, like I said, we're all in. the base level of liking it. It's a spectrum within that where I adore this movie, like love
Wait.
this film.
John, are you saying that you're on the spectrum? Is that what you just admitted to?
The Dracula spectrum, yeah.
I'm on the vampire spectrum. The more we've gotten to study vampirism, the more we've realized it's a spectrum.
It really is.
Some people drink just a little blood.
Yeah.
Some people cut their thumb and suck it. That's a vampiric act.
You go from Morbius all the way to Nosferatu, and there's a big balance in between.
Morbius. We'll end up covering it if we're still alive.
I think we will, and I will say what you will, but that is one sexy vampire. Talk about a guy getting cut for a part. Oh boy.
Talk about a guy who you can occasionally see right up his nose. But that's in keeping with Morbius. Actually, that's so comic book accurate. I'm never going to go, man, he's got a pig nose, because he's always had a pig nose in the comics.
Yeah. And of course, you can hear Gorgone and I every week over on Panel Up talking about new movies and TV shows and things going on in the world of pop culture.
New movies.
And Brendan's on there sometimes too. But so be sure to check that out here on the Punch Up Entertainment Podcast Network. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Brendan Jones.
And remember, there are such things as monsters.
See, back on Drac. That'll be our new thing. I'm saying that's our new thing. That's a t-shirt.